only been 4 minutes and 58. Done!
What? Oh, somehow I completely forgot about that. Oh my god. If I had any single regret for the countless horrific events that have transpired in my wake, it's that I'm dying.
Now I'm really angry!
Wasn't Violet Mizutsune, Flaming Espinas, Risen Chameleos a great time, everyone? Can you believe it's already been over a month since they arrived? Can you believe we're less than a month away? Presumably, given it's late November and we're in November, so November is November. This just in, here on this channel, you learning such astounding facts information as November is November. You're welcome. In any case, the point is, we are now closer to Title Update 3 than we are 2, which means it's time to start wondering what we will be getting. So welcome, fellow hunters. Get comfortable, settle down, settle in, and let's begin. So, as always, we're going to do this as most methodically as we can to try and narrow down our potential monsters for any given updatey newness. And, well, what information do we have to go on? Several monsters, and again, that word several, it just likes to keep rearing its ugly head like fighting a hydra with a decapitation expert. Well, that honestly, that example sounded really much better in my head than it came out in real life, but I guess you still kind of know what I'm talking about. In any case, as always, the definition of this is to imply at least 3, and therefore 3 monsters, because 4 would be ridiculous. I mean, yes, we have had a 4, but that was Title Update 1. Presumably, as title updates progress, we get less, but more, in the sense that it is less monsters, but each monster we do get is of a higher, not so much quality, because they've all been fantastic, but I'm gonna say newness. Like, getting one completely new monster is easily worth like 4 subspecies, both in terms of effort from the devs and I imagine our reaction to it. So that kind of vein is what I'm thinking. We should in theory be narrowing and getting more fancy as time goes on. But several are basis, at least 3, and we have variant monsters, plural, and powered up monsters, plural. However, not to be so dramatic, but that plural doesn't actually mean a right lot, because, well, with Title Update 2, before we knew what we were getting, before we got these silhouettes that weren't at all obviously Espinas or Mizutsune revealed, well, it said rare species monsters, subspecies monsters, powered up monsters, and while I promise to stop doing a bad impression of a fly at the end of each time I say monsters, this didn't translate to what it would imply. We got a single rare species in Violet, we got a single subspecies in Flaming, we got a single powered up in Risen Espinas. We didn't get multiple of each, as monster letter S would imply. So I don't think we can take special species monsters and powered up monsters to mean multiple of each, at least as a fact intrinsically as it will happen. That doesn't mean it won't, but I don't think it's a guarantee based on the wording. That said, let's talk powered up monsters first, because I think that's the easiest one to tackle. We learnt with the existence of Risen Chameleos, powered up monsters means Risen Elder Dragons. So getting more Risen Elder Dragons, I would say, is, let's be honest, a guarantee. That's going to be the end game as we keep getting more and more, well, end gamier Elder Dragons powered up with the Risen status for a proper challenge. I just don't see it happening any other way. So if we've got Chameleos, well, obviously the next place to look is Teostra and Kushala, complete the trio. And I can't see anything else happening. We're not going to jump the gun and go straight to, like, I don't know, Valstrax or Shaggaroo. That feels kind of weird to immediately get to that level of power, because they're kind of it, right? there isn't something harder to throw at us than Risen Valstrax. That's the hardest non-final boss Elder Dragon in the game, so that's got to be the end game of the Risens, especially as I don't think it's going to be possible for Malzeno to be Risen, because that just doesn't make sense with his whole shtick. So we're not going to get to that level yet, are we? There's still going to be, you know, more title updates, as it does say on the current updated roadmap. So bottom line, skipping Teostra and Kushala doesn't make sense, because we need to pace our Risen Elder Dragons over however many title updates we end up getting. I think just doing one of them is going to be anticlimactic, so doing the pair, completing the trio, getting a slight jump up from Chameleos, who, let's be honest, I think is comfortably the easiest of the three, and giving us a proper set of Elder Dragon Risens in the next update, I can see that being the way. I really, really can. And the idea of getting decorations for both Teostra and Kushala Blessing is positively, unbelievably, set-buildingly, salivatingly incredible, my word. So yeah, we have to surely get more Risen Elder Dragons, and there is no way in my mind we go past Teostra and Kushala, at least in Title Update 3. So that's where I'm kind of going there. But then we have a much harder to predict variant monsters. Ooh. This is interesting then, because obviously, step one, what are our existing variant monsters that already are a thing in the annals of Monster Hunter history? Well, we're not going to get Rusted Kushala Daora. There is just absolutely no way. On top of the fact that, well, everybody hates him! Okay, that's a little bit unfair. It is really cool getting a shedding Kushala Daora, and I have no doubt a modern incarnation of him would be fantastic. He's, let's be honest, gonna get a Risen, because of course he is, so he's not also gonna get a variant. Getting a double Kushala update would be really weird. So he's definitely off the table. Furious Rajang we already have. Savage Deviljho, well, Deviljho's not in the game, and they're not gonna add a new base monster just to add its variant. Brachydios is sadly not in the game, so we're not going to get Raging Brachydios. Ulegiana, not in the game. Seething Basil, we already have. Valhazak, not in the game, also an Elder Dragon, so likely would be Risen instead. Nergy, not in the game, also Elder Dragon, so likely would be Risen instead. Crimson Glow Valstrax, obviously already a Rise Sunbreak invention, and now the Allmother, obviously already a Rise Sunbreak invention, and therefore already in the game. Scorn Magnamalo, same deal. That leaves literally exactly 2 potential candidates for Title Update 3 if variant monster is going to come from the past. That is Frostfang Barioth, who, while, you know, awesome, I think suffers from the issue that he is a little bit too anticlimactic for this stage for Title Update 3. I could see him in 1, maybe 2, but I feel like we're expecting a kind of bigger deal, if that makes sense. Is he really a headliner? An Iceborne invention, and even then, because he got delayed, he ended up as more of an afterthought to Elatrion, and while I think he is a badass creation, this super old, super deep freeze, super arctic dwelling Barioth that is really the veteran of his kind, he is a really badass concept, and I love super ice Barioth. I just think he doesn't carry the kind of weight, that oomph, that, oh, buy your tickets now, make sure to see, you know, that kind of, well, crowd pleaser that you kind of want in a title update to get, let's be honest, as many people playing and hunting as possible, which is obviously the goal. So while Frostfang is obviously possible, it might just be my bias, but I just can't see him getting people a tingling in the same way that I can, well, our other remaining option, Chaotic Gore Magala.
You're weird.
You can't just open with that!
Well, he looks really deformed.
Oh my god!
Well, I mean, look at it. He's like half Gore, half Shagaru.
And Chaotic Gore Magala makes a frightening amount of sense for a variant monster if they're not going to invent something new. Shagaru and Gore are already in the game. Chaotic Gore Magala is quite literally half Gore Magala and half Shagaru Magala. It would be a simple fare to, well, implement Chaotic, given the existing asset pool to pull from. Now, obviously, he is his own beast, quite literally, a Gore Magala interrupted halfway through its shed, trapped in a halfway point between 2 states, half adult, half juvenile, and all crazy. The frenzy mastery of a Shagaru, the physical terror of a Gore. He really is quite ridiculous, and obviously, as a member of the Magala family, comes with it a certain "we love you" from, let's be honest, most of the Monster Hunter community, and Chaos Gore Magala just kind of has something about him that makes him pretty damn badass. He really is an enjoyable, unique, and intense monster, and let's be honest, is the only variant, given the only other option is Frostfang, that would headline a title update and be a significant selling point for, oh my god, I cannot wait to hunt a modern version of that. Ah, that's so cool. So, yeah, if a pre-existing monster variant is going to be the variant, my money has to lie with Chaotic Gore. It makes sense both on player enjoyment and economizing dev efficiency in its implementation, which is definitely a factor when trying to analyze these things. So, obviously the other option is a completely new variant. We know they are willing to do that with the new rare species Violet Mizutsune. Obviously this one is much harder to predict because, I mean, it's shooting fish in a barrel, it's throwing darts at a board. They could choose any monster, give it a tune-up, and it would probably be awesome. That said, I do think it is possible to narrow it down a little bit because the monster still has to make somewhat sense. They're not going to be like, oh, hey, Great Izuchi, you know what? It's time for your variant. Let's go. Elder Dragon level variant Izuchi. That's just not going to happen, so we can ignore stuff like that.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So, we're not gonna get, I don't think, a 3-Lord variant, because it would be weird to just have one of them without all of them. Perhaps Malzeno as the flagship and his unique connection to the Curios and the Affliction storyline continuing through the title updates. You feel like there's got to be some sort of climax there, but again, this would be too early to make that happen and would definitely be a jump gun. And they're also all new monsters, so again, that does bump them down the list of variant getting. Tigrex pops to mind. He is a big deal, he's popular, a variant of him would be powerful enough, but he also has a rare species in Molten that people really want, and I think getting Molten instead of a new take on him would probably be preferable to a lot of people, and I think with Nagakuga getting a new version in Lucent, to giving another pseudo-wyvern another new version might be, again, a little bit anticlimactic, which also speaks against Frostfang too. Basically, if I had to narrow it down to 2 monsters for a new variant, I think these make the most sense. Seregios, as indeed he has found himself basically with nothing. And indeed, Seregios holds the sad position of being the only flagship to not have a secondary version that exists, at least outside spin-offs where there was Demonic Seregios, which was a crossover monster in a spin-off game, which really, let's be honest, doesn't count. Now, yes, of course, things like Velkhana and Malzeno haven't got another version. Velkhana is too recent too, and Malzeno is way too recent too, and I still think that there is definitely potential there given the storyline of Sunbreak, but if we ignore Elder Dragons especially, Seregios does feel quite lonely in his has no super version of him. He got to be kind of the Apex flagship of Apex Frenzied monsters, but even still, he kind of deserves something, and with him coming back in Sunbreak, which I think was very much deserved and a welcome addition, he is a good candidate for finally giving a new tune-up to. And also, as it turns out with a lot of these monsters now that the frontier, well, door is firmly ajar, Seregios does have a existence in Frontier where he is an exotic species, and he does have a little bit of extra spice going on. He has a kind of red, crimson-y wing mode, he has like light explosions from his tail, from his scales, and generally does have a little bit of an altered existence there that would be quite easy and perhaps badass to incorporate into a new variant of his. It is, at the very least, food for thought. The other choice, which would be Gos Harag, the weirdly only powerful base-rise new monster that got left out of the subspecies train, and I still can't help but feel that's gotta be for a reason. There's no real further thought there other than why has the most popular base new Rise monster not got an extra version, unless that planned version they want to be really powerful and therefore more suited to a post-game title update headliner as opposed to just a random subspecies on the way through the storyline of base Sunbreak. So yeah, Seregios, Gos, Chaotic, and Teostra and Kushala Risen. that's kind of my selection, and as always, I am probably going to be completely wrong, though I have been known to be right too, so who knows? I just think it's very fun to try and, as scientifically as possible, work out what's going to go on in the future of these updates. Let me know how you would feel if my thoughts come to pass, or if you indeed have a much preferable choice for yourself, and of course your reasoning for it. For now then, like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.